How has Sienna been coping in the wake of her affair with Warren having come to light?
Yeah, not great. I think that that was such a complicated situation, and she knew that what she'd done was wrong, but classically she had ended it in time and decided that she has to commit to Brody. And obviously now he's found out, and he's just such a good person that I think this has been a bit of a wake-up call to her, because the person she's used to normally hurting is Warren, who gives as good as he gets, but you hurt Brody and it's like kicking a puppy. So I think the weight of her actions has really weighed on her this time, and it has really shown her that she had something that was really worth not losing. So I think she's desperate to try and win his trust back, but she also can see how much damage she's done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you said she's determined to win him back, but do you think she can still see a future with him, or do you think after, as you said, she's riddled with guilt, that she's all right to leave things as they are?
No, I think she won't leave them as they are, and I think she thinks, you know, I am good for you and I just made this terrible mistake, but she's so convinced she would never do anything like that again to him. She just wants him to see that, and I don't think she would as well. I think she might have like learnt her lesson there, but I think for Brody it's possibly too late.
And how does Sienna feel about Summer at this stage? Because they've really not been getting along with it.
Yeah, she loves her. She thinks she's brilliant. Yeah, she is such a pain for Sienna. Obviously, this girl's just shown up at a very inconvenient time, and she seems to just always be there. And now Brody thinks she's super, but Sienna has this real strong instinct that all is not as it seems, which I think the audience already are in on. They already kind of know that Summer's up to something. So Sienna is very frustrated. She's desperate to keep Brody away from Summer, but of course it just reads like, oh, I don't like your new girlfriend, obviously. But Sienna's like, no, there really is more to it than this, and I know because I've been that girl and you have to stay away from her. So I think it's a very frustrating situation, but it's a lot of fun.
I mean, there are elements of like old Sienna from when she first came into it in Summer, aren't there? Like so many parallels.
Yeah, and so Sienna can see it a mile off, because she's like, she really has been this girl and she knows. So yeah, that's really great. And I think the audience will be picking up on those as well and thinking that they're actually not too dissimilar from each other in some respects.
And do you think she sees Summer as a threat at this stage?
Yeah, definitely. I think to start with, she doesn't, and she thinks, you know, Brody loves me, and she's so assured of that. And then I think because she realizes how much he hurt Brody, she starts to think, oh no, like I'm really going to lose him to this girl, and she's got him. She's not the kind of girl that's going to let go. So I think she starts to feel very threatened, even though she doesn't like to admit it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I have another question for Rhiannon. So Summer just then discovers Grace is gone after witnessing Sienna and Brody together. So what can you tell us about that, and what can you tease?
So she's learning all these things and starting to get more and more irate about the situation, and getting to a point where she needs to take action now, and she needs to put a stop to all this and get revenge for her dad. And she returns to the flat and just goes into complete meltdown. And yeah, she spots anything. She's trying to grab anything, do anything to try and release these feelings that she's got inside of all these things mixed up, because it's been a bit of a wild ride for her up until this point. It's just been relentless of like, oh, it's one thing, then it's another. So she just tries to grab things, throw them, grabs this teddy, and there's the gun. And yeah, and then you don't see what the next step will be until it's a bit too late. Yeah.
Yeah. And as we literally just mentioned with Anna, Sienna has had like a lot of enemies over the years. So will Summer prove that she's not to be messed with?
Ooh, yeah, I think so. I think she's given her a run for her money, definitely. And I think what's interesting is that no one can quite put the finger on what it is or where it's coming from or how it's going to happen. But yeah, she's definitely sort of met a match. And I think for Summer as well, Summer's meeting a match. I don't think Sienna, she realises how much Sienna is going to fight back, because I don't think she's ever met anyone that will do. I think she's just been sort of nope. And then Sienna's like, actually. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see.
And do you think her actions in this particular episode will come back to haunt her?
Yeah, definitely. I think I think there's something like this can't have not have a repercussion. It's just the extent to what that repercussion is and how long that repercussion can live untouched and unnoticed. But yeah, I think there'll be definitely something that will rear its head to bring that to light. Yeah.
And we've already sort of touched on that we will start to see sort of a new side to Summer. So is this really her true nature starting to emerge now?
I think it's something that a mixture of doesn't have control over at times, and sometimes will sit on and will squash and use to her advantage. And I think there's complete duality to her. She is one thing and then she's another.
Anna, how did you feel when you found out like what was going to happen and things were going to come to a head with Summer and Sienna?
Yeah, I was so excited from the get-go with this story. I think we see Sienna at her best when she's up against someone or something. And I think we've seen her have lots of different enemies and be in lots of sort of kind of crazy situations. But for me, what was so interesting about this is everything they were telling me about it sounded quite similar to Sienna. So I love the parallels between Summer and Sienna, because I think that makes for a really interesting story. But for me, Sienna comes into her own when she's kind of back against the wall. So I think I've been really doing a lot of kind of domestic-y type things, trying to stay on the straight and narrow. So I was very excited to hear that there was going to be this kind of little nemesis in the village. And yeah, it's
very classic Sienna, isn't it? Like, it's a really like classic Sienna type story.
It's all the best stuff. Yeah, I love it. It's so fun to do.
And do you think Sienna has underestimated Summer thus far?
Massively, yeah. And I think that's what's so great, is that the perspective we're telling the story from is that the audience are in with Summer. They kind of know what she's up to, but obviously they know that Sienna doesn't quite know, and they're waiting for her to catch up into what's going on. And I think that makes the story all the more interesting. And I think so far, Sienna has seen Summer as a bit of inconvenience, but not, I don't think she's quite seen the darkness that can come from there. So that's going to be good when the penny drops.
What words would you use to describe the events then this way?
I'd probably say, well, this is the first time we've seen Summer fall into her, to know her full capabilities. And it's the first time I think people are like going to be like, oh, let's not underestimate what she's capable of. I think it's the first time we've seen the manipulation rearing its head to a point of concern, because it's actually someone's life that she's messing with now. I think it's not going to be quiet. Whatever goes from that week onwards, it's not going to be. I think it's going to be so frustrating as well, knowing that viewers can see what's going on and Sienna Brody can't. Yeah.